Return, O Virgin Daughter of Israel, to these your highways by which you went. Welcome to Reunion Roadmap, a place to discover the people and communities along the highway of restoration for Israel's House of Yosef. Reunion Roadmap is a B'nai Yosef North America production. Be our guest for the next hour as we meet the people of the emerging House of Yosef here in North America. Shalom, this is Safani Pappas, and with me is Al McCarn, our Executive Director, and we are going, actually temporarily right now, to Missouri to listen to Samuel Wearp and his wife, Keila. Isn't that correct, Al?
That's right. Samuel and Keila just got back from Israel about a month ago. They just were married at the end of February this year. So we'll talk about being newlyweds, going on a working honeymoon in Judea, and the point of their sojourn in Israel was to shear sheep. If you remember from the interview that I had with Samuel earlier this year, it was just on the eve of their wedding, and he was putting together this sheep shearing expedition. Now we get the readout on what happened. And this will be a lengthy interview. It's going to spread over 4 episodes. But we talked about so much. We talked about being newlyweds. We got Kayla's story, growing up in Torah, her connection to Israel, how she met Samuel and his family. We'll talk about why shearing sheep, why in Judea, what's the importance there, and what does it mean that these Christians, these non-Jews, non-Israelis, came all the way to Judea to help out this farm with their sheep. And we'll talk some more about the current situation. I mean, as we are speaking now, oh my goodness, it's nearly 2 years into the October 7th war. I don't know what that war is going to be called eventually, but it's still going on. And one reason that the Wearps had to hang around in Israel a little longer than expected was because of the war. But I found it very refreshing to talk to this newly married couple who are obviously devoted to one another. You can just see it in their faces and hear it in their voices, but also devoted to the God of Israel, the people of Israel, the land of Israel. They have such a vision. And of course, they are, as you said, living temporarily in Missouri right now. They don't have a permanent home, but that will come in time. And they're already planning the next expedition to shear some sheep. But before we get to that, let's hear about this current expedition. So let's go on out to Missouri and meet Samuel and Keila Wearp. Hey, this is Al McCarn. Welcome back to another Reunion Roadmap and Israel Connections interview. This time we are joined by Samuel and Keila Wearp from somewhere in the great state of Missouri. But welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Now, Keila, this is your first time with us. Samuel has been with us for several times. In fact, the last time was just on the eve of your wedding, and that was 5 months ago in February of 2025. A lot has happened. We'll get into what's gone on since you got married. And Keila, I'd just like to start with you because we know how Samuel and the Wearp family have been connected to Israel, to the Jewish people for many years, and have been very active in building up good, strong relationships between Christians and Jews, relationships based on trust and mutual respect. But you're no stranger to this process. So, how did your connection to the Jewish people in the state of Israel, how did that happen?
Yes, really good question. I'll do my best to answer it. So I think the connection started, well, my parents have always been supporters of Israel. They're the main influence, I'd say. But we started learning about the Jewish traditions when I was around 13 years old. I grew up non-denominational Christian. Then my family started, getting more familiar with Jewish traditions, and we started attending a congregation that was more messianic, and we kept festivals with this community. And then we never left that community after I was 13 until like 2021. That was when I branched off to some new horizons. And I think 2023 was a pivotal year, though. So I had spent my childhood and young teenage years and young adulthood learning about Israel, following the commandments, and keeping the festivals. And 2023 was a pivotal year because that was when I met his family in Israel. But that was before I met his family. I had decided to go to Israel on a 2023, the harvest trip for Hayovel. And so that was my initial experience into Israel. I had a few sisters that had already been to Israel, and they all skipped over Hayovel. For some reason, that was on the decision table, like, should we do Hayovel or not? They went with other ministries and organizations, and I decided to go with Hayovel in 2023. And yeah, it was a pivotal point for me for sure. I learned a lot. As you know, Hayovel is they immerse you. It's hands-on, you get your hands dirty, and then you learn a lot. Like, it's just almost overload.
Hands-on volunteering.
Hands-on volunteering, and then hands-on, you get to meet the farmers, you get to meet the people in Judea and Samaria, you get to really,
You get to meet Samuel Wearp's family.
you get to meet the Wearp family, yes. And it's beautiful, really. I really appreciate how they orchestrated the trip and, just picked the perfect speakers, all very, a wide dynamic of different types of speakers, in the political arena, also in the spiritual, more or pastoral arena, whether Christian or Jewish, just very wide variety of people. And so I was really inspired, and actually been struggling with my faith at that time. And so there was just a lot of confirmation that the Lord was giving me. So I'd say you need to go to Israel. If you're a believer, you have to go to Israel, because it just it sealed so much for me in my heart about God's kingdom. And trying to think. So 2023 for sure, that year was a big part in my I always knew Israel existed, but I always connected to Israel through the festivals, right? Through keeping Shabbat. But I never really, it's like you really put a face to the name when you go there and you're actually living with the people. And so that really, I remember I was there when October 7th happened, and I decided to, I didn't decide. I was trying to decide to stay longer because I wanted to be with the people and really support them in the time. But the doors didn't open, nothing, I wasn't able to stay. But I remember just feeling so profoundly just that I wanted to, hineni, that's the Hebrew word for, what is the Hebrew word for it?
Here I am.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Here I am, yes. Here I am. So that was really my heartfelt prayer was, God, like, you see all that had happened with October 7th. And I just really wanted to do something and be, especially after all that I had learned, just in that immersive trip. And so, I go back to Texas, but I had already met your family, the Werps, on that trip. He wasn't there, but yeah, so I'd say, hopefully in a nutshell, that's kind of my connection to Israel. It was kind of distant as a young kid, but we started learning more about the festivals. And I think that's where it really, when you learn about the Jewishness of your Messiah, you learn about the Jewishness of who Jesus was. That was really our doorway into our connection with Israel.
Well, that is such a wonderful testimony And I've seen Samuel and all his brothers and his mom and dad live that out. I've lived it out myself. You know, we're all called to this ministry to promote this kind of vision, this connection to the land and people of Israel, because why is that important, Samuel? Why now?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We're living in a time that the disciples desired to see, that the prophets wanted to see, and that was the restoration of the land and people of Israel. And the question is, why now? Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I feel like there were, much greater generations maybe in the past that kind of really seemed to want and desire it and push into it. And I don't know, or maybe I'm just looking at the past generations as the great forefathers, and I don't see it in us. But it is the time. The times are calling. The times are changing, as the song goes, and we have to respond with the times. So why is it now? Only the good Lord knows. But because it's changing, we have to change with it. We have to respond to how God is working, and that was something that I was even thinking about just this morning in connection to Israel is we know that the message of the kingdom, or the message of God's redemption story, Yeshua said, begins in Jerusalem. You're supposed to take it to Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria, and then to the ends of the earth. And I think not only have we missed Jerusalem, not only is it not the center of our story, but many people who are proclaiming the message of the kingdom haven't even been to Jerusalem. And so it's really hard to proclaim the message of the kingdom when you're so disconnected from it. And so since the times are changing, since God is seeming to, or not seeming to, it's obvious, I think, to all those who see, have eyes to see, God is working in Israel, is working in Jerusalem, is waking his people up and bringing the nation of Israel home. All those who can see that need to get with the program and respond to God's to what God's doing in the world. And so, if the message was supposed to start in Jerusalem, then we should begin to start looking towards Jerusalem.
Amen. And that's been the consistent message for 10 from the Nations, which is what connects us all in ministry terms.
Yeah.
And, we were talking just a few minutes ago about a teaching you did, Samuel, just today. And I'd like to go back and revisit that because it does address why it's important for Jews and Christians to come together to share what they know. And this was in the context of our daily prayer meetings that you guys are leading. I mean, Samuel, you're doing the teachings every day for the 21 days of the dire straits between 17th of Tammuz and 9th of Av, the fast days on the Jewish calendar that commemorate when the Babylonians broke through the wall of Jerusalem and then when they destroyed the first temple. And oh, by the way, the Romans destroyed the second temple on the same day, 9th of Av. Even right now, we are just a couple of days away from this year's observance. And I was just talking to people earlier this week, I'm counting 3 events now where Christians and Jews are joining together to observe the 9th of Av. 10 from the Nations, we have our event, which is this Sunday, August 3rd. We are beginning with joining with the Land of Israel Fellowship with Jeremy Gimpel and Ari Abramovitz, and they will be having a 1-hour observance meeting with Christians and Jews. And then I know the Altar of Prayer, of which we're a part, is also having an observance. Keila, had you ever heard of the 9th of Av before you married this guy?
Let's say I have heard of it, but I didn't connect to it as much as I do now. Like 2023, I really connected. I remember I was on the calls before we were married, and as a someone from the nations that could actually connect to it, and actually, feel that the inspiration and the meaningful of mourning for the temple and mourning with your brothers, your Jewish brothers and sisters. So Yeah, I'm learning a lot, especially after marriage.
Absolutely. And it probably helps that your husband is the guy who's teaching every day and facilitating these these daily
Right.
calls. Um,
A personal reference book.
that's right. That's right. Samuel, let's go ahead and talk about Sarah, the daughter of Asher, and
Yeah.
Anna, the daughter of Asher. That was such a great teaching you gave us this morning. Can you condense that into, like, 3 minutes or just give us the highlight there?
That's right. Yeah. We were doing we've been going through different characters of scripture, especially those that maybe would have considered themselves out of date, ready to move on. We kind of talked about, are you ready for retirement or ready for redemption? And that was kind of the theme that we went with. Um, and I was just kind of thinking about this because I see everybody, even at my age, and it seems like they're planning for an easy exit. It's like, take the easy road to just, all right, you know, and not really looking, for ultimate redemption. And we have, well, at least we've done, I think 17 different characters, biblical characters now, who all would have thought that they were past their prime,
Retirement
and
age.
they were at retirement age, and
Yeah.
yet God used them for a great work. And so today we spoke about Anna, who was in the temple, who kind of announced Yeshua as the Redeemer, as the Messiah, and she would have been in a lot of Bibles it says she was 84 years old, but the Greek there could be read as she was 84 years old, or she was 84 years after the death of her husband. She was in the temple for 84 years. So she could have been closer to 105 years old, 103, somewhere in there. Who knows? And yet she was looking for redemption in Jerusalem. And when she found him, when she found the Redeemer, she declared it to everybody. As it says in Luke, it says, she began praising God and speaking about the child to all those who were waiting for the redemption of Jerusalem. So immediately she goes from looking for it to now she's proclaiming it to everyone. And the connection that we made today, I was talking to Keila this morning, and we came across, so we're thinking about different connections that could be made to, we did a brainstorm on Anna, and we're reminded about a Jewish tradition regarding another daughter of Asher, somebody from the tribe of Asher. That's the tribe that Anna was from. And there was another daughter of Asher whose name was Serach. And Serach was the daughter of Asher who went with Jacob into what we would call the exile, left the land of Canaan and went into Egypt. It wasn't exile at the time, but everybody kind of knew where it was going, because of Abraham's prophecy that that there would be an exile. And Sarah goes with the nation down into Egypt. And interestingly enough, we read her name is also mentioned with the people that came out of Egypt in the book of Numbers chapter 26. And so there's a midrash, a Jewish story, which says that when Moses comes to the elders and says that I'm the Redeemer, I'm here to bring you the message, they go to a very specific individual to ask, is he legit or not? And that was Sarah, because Sarah remembered when Joseph spoke that there would be a Redeemer who would come. And Sarah remembered that. And she was the one that could say, yes, Moses is the Redeemer. Just like Anna could say the same. Yes, this is the Redeemer. Let's go with this. And so, it was a beautiful connection. Two daughters of Asher, two women of the tribe of Asher who could bring clarity to the moment and say, yes, this is the Redeemer. This is the time of redemption. Move forward. And so it's been really good. It's been really good. It's been a really good time of teaching and learning I'm not just the teacher, I'm also the learner. So I'm a student, I guess, to myself, but also to all of the great commentators before. And yeah, it was really good. So everybody, next year to join us. So there's another 21 days that are going to be coming up next year, and we need a lot more people to grab this message and run with it.
Here's Will Spires with his rendition of Psalm 1.
Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. 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 Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. And his delight is on the law of the Lord, and both day and night he meditates on his law. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. And he shall be like a tree firmly planted, and he shall be like a tree firmly planted by living water, living water, living water, living water. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Chimney, me, we're preparing. Clean and clean, holy and profane. Praise Yah, we have a covering found in Yeshua. Our Passover lamb rose from the grave. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. His delight is on the law of the Lord, and both day and night he meditates on his law. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. And he shall be like a tree firmly planted. And he shall be like a tree firmly planted by living water, living water, living water, living water. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shalom, everybody. Welcome to this week's Midrash portion of Reunion Roadmap. This is David Jones. With me today is Barry Phillips. Shalom, brother.
Shalom, Boker Tov, David.
Barry, do you like working in a garden?
I like eating from the garden. Weeding the garden is, yeah, we'll go yes.
It's a safe bet, right? I do not like working in a garden. I spent many years working outside doing construction, things like that, but that is not working in a garden. That is not literally working the land for that. And I'm not the guy to do that. But when Yah created Adam, he put him in the garden. He created this place called Eden, and then he placed him in this garden that was in Eden, and he told him to do something. And he didn't just put him there and say, okay, now you're just going to exist. He gave him a task, and he told him to work the land and to keep it. And it's kind of interesting how he puts that, because there's deeper messages that is in here. I mean, one, work the land. Okay, well, when he put them in the land, they already had some food, so it wasn't a matter of you got to wait to get food. He had fruit from the trees and stuff like that. So what was he really telling him to do, and what was really going on here? And I think what I'm going to attempt to try to draw a picture of today that we can work together on is Yahweh was trying to show us a role as a priesthood for him. First Peter 2:9 says that you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood. So what is a priest supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? And I submit to you that a priest was supposed to do the same thing that Yahweh told Adam to do. When he put him in the garden, he said to work it and to keep it. Those words there is le'avda ul-shamra, the word avad and shamar that was given there. Now, avad is meaning work, serve. Avid is a servant. But it's the same word there where we get the avodah, the Yom Kippur service, which is a work that's done there, but it's the work of the priest that is done there to make atonement. So to work it, so working and serving and worship are all based out of the same word. And then we have the word shamar, which means to keep, to guard, to protect, to be a watchman. And, you can look back and, well, if he was supposed to guard, why was he supposed to guard the garden? Well, we know why, right? We know what happened there. But if we look at this in the aspect of that, he was giving us an example of how we are a priest here, not like a literal working in a tabernacle, but if we are to be working like a priesthood, what is our task as a priesthood? And I'm saying it's to be a servant and to guard and protect and to keep his word in all these things. So how does all this break down? And then a little bit later, we'll tie this in. We can see pictures of Yeshua fulfilling this role and doing all that together. So got a couple things we can kind of start working on here. Barry, what direction do you think we should take this?
David, as you were describing that, the first thing that came to my mind is from personal history and life experience where you're pastoring somewhere and people, whether it is technically the same role or not, it's actually a different role. A pastor is not necessarily a priest, although it can overlap. But there are priestly functions. You are serving the people and you are guarding them in a general sense. But the accusation is made, well, you only work one day a week. And, how much should we pay you just to work one day a week? The rest of the week, you can sit on the front porch and sip tea. Not the case. These servants in the priesthood, they even offered up lambs, the Tamid offerings, 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Shabbat, and even on Yom Kippur. Every day of the year, there was priestly function that was going on. There was never a day off where they said, well, okay, we don't have to tend to the menorah. There's no need to put incense on the altar. We don't have to worry about the fire at the altar of slaughtering. It's all good. We got a day off today. No, that never happened. So they were serving even on Shabbat when others were resting. There is this spiritual responsibility to those who operate and function in a ministry gift arena, and that is a serving of Yah in prayers and study and attention to His Word. And that was the resolve of the quarrel over the women not receiving the daily administration of food in Acts. The apostles said, we're not going to leave off the study of the word and prayer to serve tables. We need to delegate this to someone else who is going to have authority and anointing to do such. So there is this function that serves the body and guards the body by those who are studying the word, that are interceding in prayer, and then teaching and administrating the heart of Messiah to the people, even though it only is seen maybe one day a week. There's more to it than that is what is exemplified.
It kind of has the idea of, but we don't know what happened to Moses. We don't see him right now, so we don't know what. So he must be doing nothing, right?
He's up there asleep on the mountain, and we need help.
So as I'm looking through this, and I'm thinking how we relate in here. Our roles is to worship Yahweh.
Yes.
I mean, you think of the role of a priest. The very first function, the very first role of a Levite or a priest was to minister to Yahweh above everything else.
Yes.
Reading through in Leviticus, we find that it was the Kohen was to make the smoke go up on the altar. It is the offering made by fire to Yahweh. It was he says this is the smoke that goes up. It is the Kohen that is to do this. And in Leviticus 7, we read that, again, just reiterating, it is ministering to Yahweh in the priest's office. The very first role of the high priest was to minister to Yahweh, minister to him. And then we have a reconciliation to the people. And then we have the Levi'im that were brought to help Aaron to do his task. And so for us, what is our first role as a royal priesthood in a holy nation? It's not, well, if I'm a royal priest and I'm holy, well then I need to, if I'm royal, I need to set up a throne, right? No, we need to magnify his. And so we have a job to do. And what is that job? And what will the worship, the Eved, be a servant to worship, and then Shamar to keep and guard and protect the word that he has given us that is being written on our hearts, so that we can do what he's asking us to do here to build the kingdom, and to do these things now. And I mean, granted, he can call anyone to be his servant, and he has, but not everybody's going to respond to that. When we come to him, we enter into covenant. We are now in a place of being a servant, but he calls us not just servants. Yeshua said, I call you friends. We are in that a royal priesthood and a holy nation, and we can do that because of what Yeshua has done for us. Because we have, Adam, then we have the last Adam, where Adam failed. He entered into sin. Yeshua came and he made atonement and made a way for us to be in relationship with the Father. So we don't take that for granted. We need to have an active role in that worship. Worship is not passive. It's something that needs to be done.
Indeed. Yeah. As you're saying that, David, I'm thinking of the dual role then of Yeshua as serving his Father in heaven. He stands ever living to make intercession for us. He stands to do the Father's will even now, not just in his earthly time, but also even now. And when he returns in the kingdom, it is to do the Father's will. He's not coming to rule his own kingdom his own way. It will be in accordance with what the Father's heart is and how it always has been. But also to guard the throne. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there is a phrase in a older version of the Yom Kippur service that references Yeshua by name as the guardian of the inner chamber and the prince of the face. There is this understanding that he protects the throne of Yah to some degree. But also the other side of that is that he does the same for us. He serves us. If you ask the Father anything in my name, he will do it. So there is this understanding that Yeshua serves us as our mediator and our intercessor, but he also guards us. Yochanan 17, he's taught that he had given to us the name of the Father, that it would guard and protect us. And so this understanding is that Yeshua is fulfilling a dual role in two different directions, functioning at a level of priesthood that is only exemplified by anything operating in the earth. And one other thought here real quick is, there are those that would belittle the Levitical priesthood and as if it has been done away with and no longer necessary. But the Torah will teach you that wherever the manifestation of Yah's presence is, the glory of his tabernacle, they're the ones that guard. They were the inner ring camping around the tabernacle complex, and they guarded the people, or they guarded the tabernacle from the people running amok and charging to the middle of the tabernacle without priestly service. But they also, in their function, prevented the glory from running amok among the people out of wrath. I mean, they were intercessors and a barrier, or if you will, a protective barrier. So it operates both ways. And if you're trying to function in priesthood, it's a high calling and a very severe requirement out of you.
It draws another line to where he always says that we are to learn to discern the differences between clean and unclean and holy and common.
Absolutely.
Not just holy and profane, but even holy and common. And common doesn't mean sinful. It just means it's an everyday thing. It's just not. It's not holy. And so that is something that he tells Aaron that he is supposed to teach the people of Israel. This wasn't just the role or the job of a priest to do that. The priesthood was to have these differences within them and to teach it to the people.
Yes.
So what does that effectively do to the people? Well, they're learning how to approach Yahweh. They're learning how to serve him. They're learning how to worship him. They're learning how to be clean. You're clean, now stay that way. How to live as a people that have been sanctified. And so this is something that we have a great picture of, even down to, like you said, a dual role of Yeshua for us, even in providing atonement for us. Well, atonement is a covering, a protection, a safety. The more you really look into that, there's really a lot more you can find. But I think we're out of time for today, Barry.
I think we're out of time. Yeah. Folks, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for any questions, comments and you can contact us at Reunion Roadmap at B'naiYosefNA.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Here is Will Spires with The Garden.
Oil from the garden, fresh from the grove, wicks from the garments, hold the flames in a row. Beaten and hammered, Shema showed the way, crushings for oil and threshings for grain. Ocean forever, an offering by fire, receiving your spirit, be prepared and sent out, scattered and sown to be grown and matured. The dresser is coming to gather in and restore. Beyond the veil, Shemaiah sings, I'm revealing deeper things. I am calling a set apart people. So let the bride and spirit come. Let my will and you be done. We will walk into the garden, to the table. And I step down out of my place to meet you face to face. The breath that gives life to your weary soul, nourished to send out, restore where there's drought, to put the fire in your bones. Stirring within you, placed in your heart, the fragrance from incense, reminding of covenant, trailing through forest and cool of the day, walking back to the garden. Let my light lead your way. Beyond the veil, Shemaiah sings, I'm revealing deeper things. I am calling a set apart people. So let the bride spirit come. Let my will and you be done. We will walk into the garden, to the table. And I step down out of my place to meet you face to face. The breath that gives life to your weary soul, nourished to send out, restore where there's drought, put the fire in your bones. And I step down out of my place to meet you face to face. The breath that gives life to your weary soul, nourished to send out, restore where there's drought, to put the fire in your bones.
Well, this podcast, we feature the music of Will Spires. The first song was Psalm 1, and then you just heard The Garden, which, Tefania, I think that was a fitting follow-up to this midrash, which Barry and David call Adam as a type of priest. And it began in the garden, but it doesn't end there, or does it?
Well, the second Adam, before we see Yeshua on the tree, as his interaction is with his disciples, he's in the Garden of Gethsemane. It's so in a sense, it's starting with the garden and it's ending with the garden. And what I think about too, when I think about gardening, that they're mentioning about weeding, and those things can be the things that really are not the fun things about gardening. I mean, the fun thing is eating of the produce, eating of the land, and what can happen. But I think of even this year, I hear a lot of people who are growing stuff are having a really, really difficult time. Is that prophetic about the times we're living in right now? That we're all kind of just struggling along right now and really having to confront a lot of things as we tend to our own garden. Personally, I mean, the spiritual garden.
That's a good question. But there's something else that occurred to me about a garden. It's not just gardens that we eat the produce of. What about those gardens that you go and meditate and have peace? You know, the flower gardens, the arbors. And
yes,
I assume you have been to the Garden Tomb in Jerusalem.
I have.
Okay,
In 1998, I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was there just 2 years ago, and it was one of those places where there's just shalom. There's peace there. I have felt that kind of peace in other places, but not very often. But to get back to what we're talking about here is it takes some effort and dedication and service to bring the garden about to whatever is the desired end state.
Yes.
And really, there's no end state, is there? It's a constant maintenance, right?
Constant. Yes. Even you think about the priesthood where they're making that connection between Adam being a priest. I mean, the priests were like, even while we say Shabbat is sort of a time of rest, but they had duties on Shabbat even.
Yes. I think we'll have to leave it there because we are out of time, sadly. But I would encourage everyone, please come to our website, BneiYosefNA.com, BneyYosefNA.com. Check out our resources and click on that donate button if you are so moved. We would be greatly honored to partner with you. And we would also be greatly honored if you would consider becoming an affiliate of B'nai Yosef North America. You can start that process right there on our homepage. And so on behalf of Tefania Pappas and Barry Phillips and David Jones, this is Al McCarn. Shavua Tov.
Thank you for joining us on the Reunion Roadmap, a production of B'nai Yosef North America. Please come back next week for another visit with the people of the emerging house of Yosef here in North America.